All right. So in this video, we're going to talk all about mindful eating. Let's get into it. Okay. So what is mindful eating? Now, a lot of times people will tune out when they hear the word mindful, and they'll be like, that sounds woo woo. Not really into this kind of stuff. But hear me out. Really, all it is paying deliberate attention to what you're doing in the present moment and the food that you're consuming. That's it. Just really paying a super focused attention. And it's working to like engage all your different senses, you know, and you want to just like look at the colors of your food, look at the textures of your food. How does it smell? How does it feel in your mouth? How does it taste? It's really being hyper aware of what you're eating and slowing down. There's also a big part of this is coming into your eating with no judgments. We're not labeling foods good and bad. If you're working on mindful eating and you've got French fries in front of you, that's fine. Take the moment, slow down, really taste your food. The saltiness, the crunchy, is it crispy? Is it, you pay close attention. But we don't want any kind of judgments when it comes to what you're eating. We're trying to build this deeper connection between our food and ourselves. And I'm going to go into some more details of why mindful eating can be so helpful. And I know mindful eating is very good for weight loss in general because it helps you to slow down. A lot of times we're not really in tune with our hunger and fullness signals because of just constant snacking, and you rarely actually feel hungry. So mindful eating can really help with this. It can also help with, improving your portion control because we'll go through the steps, but you want to make sure that when you make your plate, you know that you can go back for more, but you're putting a portion in front of you that is something that you should have. So it can help with your portion control. It can help your weight management, weight loss, improving your digestion because you're slowing down. You're not devouring your food as quickly as you possibly can. You can actually start to enjoy your food a little bit more. Like think about when you go do a wine and food like pairing, like tasting, you are being talked and walked through, like paying attention to certain notes. Like, does this give you a berry note or cherries? And like you're paying ultra attention to what you're drinking and then how it's pairing with the food as well. And you're like how your mouthfeel is like, it's very cool when you slow down and start really paying attention to things, and you can actually start to and thoroughly enjoy your food a little bit more and appreciate your food a little bit more instead of just eating and mindlessly doing this. We want to be more mindful. Um, so let's go ahead and talk about the process, how you walk yourself through mindful eating. Now, I'm going to say this up front. There is no right or wrong way. There's no perfect way. It's all about just taking the time to slow down and really pay attention to what you're doing. I'm going to walk you through the steps of how you could do it. So you want to set the stage, get rid of any distractions. You don't want your phone on. You don't want to be working while you're doing this, while you're eating. Maybe actually set your table and make it nice and have like a place setting, just a nice atmosphere because you want to enjoy your meal. Then, before you even get to the eating part, you want to make sure that you're being mindful of the portions that you're putting on your plate instead of just, mindlessly eating whatever you put there. Give yourself a reasonable amount of your different foods and you just gauge your hunger and your fullness whenever you finish your meal. And if you need to add more, you take the time and you go add a little bit more. But you set yourself up with a smaller portion and you're slowing yourself down, and you can always add more. Okay, some more things before you start eating. You really want to start to pay attention to your actual, like, if you're actually feeling hungry. I swear, so many people aren't feeling hungry. So just pay kind of attention to how you're feeling. Do you feel weak? Do you feel tired? Do you feel hungry? Try to pay attention to how you're feeling before you start eating. Like I said, come into this with no judgment. Don't label your foods good or bad. You're just eating food. And the practice of gratitude. I know we talked about gratitude in another video. Here's a way that you can incorporate some gratitude in this mindful eating process. A lot of people will pray before they have their meal, thanking for where it's coming or whatever they want to pray for. Similar, but you don't have to have the religious aspect to it. You can just be grateful that you were either able to buy this food because groceries, or maybe you got it from a farmer's market and you're like, okay, this is super cool. I'm thankful for the farmer who grew this. Having some more appreciation for the food that you have in front of you instead of just, quickly eating it and just forgetting about it. You can also have some gratitude towards whoever prepped the meal for you. You can think about different aspects of where your food came from and how it got to right in front of you and be grateful for those processes. Okay, so then when you start eating, it's time to really focus on your senses. Before you even take the bite, like look at your plate, look at the colors, take in the smells, like take the second to slow down and pay attention to what's in front of you. Let's see. Yeah. When you go to actually taste it, how do the textures feel in your mouth? What's the temperature like as you're eating? You just want to pay attention to every single little detail. When you do this, it's really cool, especially like I did this with just paying attention to a bowl of fruit. And you'd be amazed at when you really think about the different textures of the berries. How you have raspberries, you got the blueberries that pop, the grapes that, will pop, and how it feels in your mouth. It's like slowing down. It's very cool. And you're like, oh, wow, I didn't really realize that some blueberries are so sweet and some blueberries are a little bit sour. And the texture on the outside of a strawberry. It's like more noticing what you're eating and slowing down. I'm going to emphasize that again. Really slowing down and fully, like, it's an experience as you're eating, not rushing, not distracting. So you just stay present in the moment. It's very easy for our minds to go somewhere else. You just try to bring your mind right back and get back to focus on what's in front of you. But it's completely normal. When I first started to figure out how to do meditation, I was like, I can't meditate. My brain just goes everywhere. And then I realized, well, that's the point. You're working on bringing your brain back to what you're focusing on. It's okay. And it's absolutely normal for your brain to wander, and you just guide it back and you get rid of those thoughts that you were having and come back to what you were focused on. It's normal. Your brain's always going to do that. So while you're eating, you really want to pay attention to how you're physically feeling. Are you starting to feel full? Are you starting to feel not hungry? We want to stop before you get that overly full feeling, which I learned to really like the overly full feeling. It's uncomfortable, but that's where I felt like, oh, now I'm satisfied. You don't want to get to that point. You want to stop before then, because when you feel that overly full, you overdid it. So pay close attention to how your body's feeling before you go and get more food on your plate. Give yourself a good 5-10 minutes before you add more to your plate. But if you're eating in this slow down process, you may not even need to get back up to get more. You may be like, oh, wow, I didn't realize that if I slowed down a little bit, I would eat a little bit less and actually feel full sooner. And then after eating, just take a moment to kind of reflect on the meal that you had. Notice if you had satisfaction eating something, how you felt, did you feel full? Did you overdo it? It's okay. And like I said, there's no perfect way of doing this. So it's all about just trying to stay a little bit more present and slowing down and trying to truly appreciate everything about your food and all the details. Think about your different senses. Okay, so when you're trying to start to incorporate this mindful eating, it can be a little bit challenging because obviously there's tons of distractions, and emotional eating can kind of, get in the way a little bit. But if you try to practice some of this mindful eating when you're feeling an emotional impulse to eat, And just slowing down can actually help you consume a little bit less. But you do want to try to figure out what's triggering you and trying to find different outlets for that, because boredom, stress, end of the day, trying to wind down, that's all time frames when people can easily start to fall into these emotional eating habits. But if you can try to practice slowing down, it may help you consume a little bit less. Let's see. And like I said earlier, we don't want any judgment with anything. So in this process, it's all about positive and not the negative. So we don't want negative self-talk. We don't want to judge ourselves like, oh, I was trying to do mindful eating and I'm overly stuffed, or, we don't want any negative. No room for that. Societal pressures, peer pressure to eat more. That's normal. When you're trying to practice mindful eating and you're in a party situation, it's a little challenging because people are just snacking and you it's difficult. Distractions in general are normal automatic eating habits where we're just like mindlessly wandering into the kitchen. These can all be challenges and things to try to pay a little bit more attention to so that we can stop ourselves from falling into this mindless eating. And then sometimes it's just complete lack of awareness. Like we're not, like I said, so many people don't actually feel physically hungry at all during their day. It's because we're so used to constantly snacking and we never get that chance for our body to tell us that we're hungry because we just keep feeding it. We're not giving it the time to digest the food, process things, and then get hungry again. So, some tips if you want to try to start incorporating mindful eating into your daily life, just work on eating without some distractions at first. You don't have to like do all these steps. You can start small. Like, okay, I'm just not going to have my phone near me when I'm eating. That can be a first step. Planning what meals you're going to have ahead of time, that can be helpful because then you know exactly what to expect, and it makes less of the mindless stuff going on because you have some intention behind what you're going to be having. Paying attention to your body's hunger cues. Like, are you physically hungry? And if you're not, maybe you don't really need to eat anything at that moment. I know it's a little difficult when it comes to like dinner time and everyone's going to be eating together. That can be a little bit challenging. But do you need to eat a full meal if you're not that hungry? Maybe just eat a little bit. We really want to start paying attention to what our body physically needs and what it's asking you for. And paying attention to being just satisfied and not that overly full. And try different flavored foods, like different spices and seasonings so you can have different tastes in your mouth. That makes your food more exciting. And you can really pay attention to like, ooh, that was really spicy, or ooh, that one had a sweet and spicy combination. I really enjoyed that. Or if you lean more towards like Hispanic type flavors or Asian type flavors, it's really fun when your food tastes good and you can fully appreciate it. So just remember, mindful eating is a practice and it takes time. It's not about being perfect. You just want to start to get this greater sense of awareness and appreciation for the food that you're having and what it's doing for your body, and actually enjoy it and not just mindlessly snack on things and devour your food and get right back to working. Put some intention behind what you're eating and actually sit there and enjoy it. When you enjoy your food, it makes dieting so much easier because you're like, okay, I really liked that. That was good. I'm satisfied. And then when your next meal comes, be satisfied again. Mindlessly snacking, we got to try to curtail some of that. So if you can incorporate some of this mindful eating techniques into your daily life right now, I definitely think it will be beneficial for you. And like I said, it's not about being perfect. It's just about getting more awareness and really slowing down and savoring your food. Taste it and paying attention to your body and its cues that it gives you for hunger and for satiety and your fullness, and not overly full. But don't beat yourself up if you go a little overboard. It's always the next meal, and you can keep improving and keep trying to be more mindful. All right, I will see you in the next video.